All right, welcome back to So There I Was. This is your host again, Travis Womack. I've been the only host ever, but I always say that. Today's guest is none other than my good friend Timothy French. He's got a long history of infantry cool stuff, and then obviously our careers crossed over from 2016 to 18 while at the Old Guard, and some interesting horse stories are in for today. But Tim, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Travis. It's good to be here. I can't wait to talk about the old guard and where it took us
Yeah.
at a minimum.
Yeah, it's there's we'll get to the horses for sure, but I like to start every episode with just kind of get a little bit of background of when you joined, where were you? You're old enough to be around for 9/11 and stuff, but when did you join? Why did you join? Kind of what led to the start?
So my both parents served previously. Both grandparents served before that. I'm fourth or fifth generation military, so it was kind of one of those things. Even growing up, it was always in the cards for me. Partly because I was lazy, partly because I couldn't really identify with anything else. I had actually signed my contract to join the military in August of 2001.
Oh man.
Um, yeah, a month later, bear in mind, 20-year-old me, pardon me, 21-year-old me is now working as a shift manager for McDonald's, out of high school, cried college, had a great scholarship across country, but had no desire for school. And so here I am managing McDonald's, waiting for my time to ship. My father's only piece of advice was if you can delay entry, do so. Get one more Christmas because you'll never know how many Christmases you have once you're in.
Hmm.
And so I took the advice. Go out there, sign. I'm set to ship January of 2002. Month later, September 11th happens. The day of, I'm literally, I'll never forget this. I'm opening up my McDonald's store. I've got coffee going, just turning the news on. And I think probably like most everybody at the time, thought it was a movie. Like, I'm like, what movie is this? And I'm trying to figure it out. And then I realized it's ABC News. And I'm like, all right, something's not right here. So turn it on all the TVs in the dining room area. Start offering free coffee to the people, the patrons that are there, because we're gathering a crowd as people are realizing this is
Hmm.
live. And I remember leaving shift at about 2 p.m. that afternoon. I didn't go home. I went straight to the recruiter and I was like, hey, change my date. Let's go.
Yeah.
And he just looked at me. He's like, you have a ship date. Get the hell out of here. You're wasting my time.
Yeah.
And so I sat. January 2002, I officially shipped. Took off to Fort Benning. Typical infantry story,
Yeah.
was young and dumb, didn't really know what I'd signed up for. While I was probably better prepared for basic than most, at the same time, I didn't know what I was in for.
Yeah.
Got out of basic March, May. June was out at Fort Lewis, joined up with 2ID that was just finishing its transition from Bradley's to Strykers as General Shinseki's new baby. So I got to do all that and enjoy all that. Um, Trained, and then we deployed at the end of '03. My first deployment to Iraq, we literally deployed to Kuwait, drove from Kuwait all the way up to Baghdad, then Samarra, did a month of operations out of a fire base outside of Samarra, then moved up to Mosul for the year. In fact, a buddy of mine, Joe Troutman, just released his book and is currently in talks of more of it. It's called Gods of War,
Hmm.
and it's about our first deployment with the Strikers and the fact that the unit there now, while it's century flagged from 2ID to 7th ID, they're known as the Ghost Brigade because of our actions in Samara specifically. It was the first time the Stryker was very light, was very fast. We were able to get it up to 70 miles an hour.
Hmm.
You couldn't hear it at night from maybe 5 meters away.
Hmm.
Like, we snuck up on people and we were good at it. But a lot of that came from the fact that all we did was train for 9.5 months.
Yeah.
Like, I spent more time in Yakima and NTC and JRTC than I spent home for those 9 months. But we were good because of it. We had leadership that understood what was happening. And then, it helps to be the Secretary of Defense's baby.
Yeah.
We had all the money. We had all the cool gadgets, all the cool
Yeah.
toys.
Well, you get
So
you get the
I
money
think
to go train too, which helps.
Oh, 100%. Like,
Yeah.
we're listening to units to left and right of us how they're doing room clearing drills with broom handles that are painted black, and we're like,
We got 5 rounds.
we've got 250,000 blanks to go play
Yeah.
with. Let's go. So every day it was PT was ruck up, do a 4 mile hike out to some shoot site, go conduct mountain drills all day.
Yeah.
And so we were practicing all of it. And it showed. We did a really amazing job. At the same time, it was probably one of my worst first tragedies. Our first actual mission beyond, the movement from Kuwait to Samara, we got spun up, and it was right before they actually captured Saddam Hussein. A couple days previously, one of our cav units that was supporting us rolled through a small village, ended up hitting a power line pole, dropped this pole, killed power to all 15 houses. And so the local people, all 200 of them,
Pissed.
felt some kind of way. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it, rightfully so. So we were going to go through, we were going to do a soft knock and clear at 2 in the morning and just basically make sure they don't have anything that could hurt us.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the plan was we were going to infill along one of these, it's in Afghanistan, we call them like wadi dikes, but it was basically like this raised dike.
Mm-hmm.
And on either side, it was about 11-foot drop off into an irrigation ditch.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Stryker's at least 17 tons.
Yeah.
If we had any of intelligence in the local area, we would have learned very quickly that mule carts were falling off this thing.
Mm-hmm. And rolled
So
it.
as we leave out, my platoon is in the lead, 4 Strykers, various distance, and the lead and the trail Stryker both slipped same time. And so there was a lot of initial confusion as to which Stryker went in the ditch and which one was off and upside down, because they were getting reports, this Stryker up front, no, it's the Stryker in the back, it's this, it's that. And meanwhile, here I am, I'm sitting in a vehicle, I'm 24 years old, it's 9, maybe 9:30 at night, and it's pitch black, the vehicle's filling full of water. My squad leader broke his neck unbeknownst to us to warn us of a rollover, and our driver is trapped up in the driver's hole, deathly afraid of drowning, breaks his own legs trying to get out.
Wow.
And so my first loss is a year and a half in the military, non-combat related, but
Just
completely gut wrenching.
yeah. That's awful, man. I didn't know that about you from our talk
Yeah.
before. That's the I've experienced a mass casualty like that in combat, but a non-combat rollover type thing. We dropped a deuce and a half off a 30-foot bridge by accident,
Oh,
and full of guys and stuff, and we lost 7. So I definitely empathize. Not to it's the worst feeling because you're there, and I talk about this on a lot of episodes. It's the worst emotion ever then, and it's the worst emotion forever. It's called helpless,
yeah,
and you're like,
100%.
I can't do anything. You have all this training, all this first aid training. You know how to do tourniquets, which didn't exist back in 2003, but you know how to do pressure wounds and Israeli bandages and all this stuff and needle decompression and you got a good medic who can do a trach, all this stuff
Mhm.
but like with drowning, or in our case it was internal bleeding and crushing. You're like, there's no pamphlet for this. I can't
No,
I can't fix your liver from bleeding I mean, you can see it just bleeding in their body. And you're like, I can't.
right.
This is like popping a
But I
blister.
mean,
This is bad. I can't cut this. I can't do anything but just
no.
sit here, hold your hand, and watch you die, and it's the worst feeling ever.
But I mean, for me, it like I'll never forget. We got warned of the rollover. In a Stryker, you have multiple hatches on the back of the vehicle, right? Like you've got the truck commander's hatch, which is a full hatch. You've got the gunner's hatch, which is a rounded hatch, like kind of like a tank hatch. And then in the rear of it, we have 2 hatches for the ICV, the infantry carrier variant, where you can literally pop up. They can lock out, so you can provide, small arms fire support. You can provide small machine
Mm,
gun fire support, or just help spot. and we had our team leaders up. They were out. Our squad leader was up in his. Our TC started up, went down to kind of just get himself situated with his remote weapon system, RWSs. And next thing we know, we hear rollover. Team leaders get yanked down, and we're all kind of trying to brace because we don't know which way we're going. And
Yeah.
the rollover itself, I'll never forget this. It felt like slow motion.
Oh yeah.
Like everything seemed to slow down. But to this day, I can't tell you what happened to the squad leader. Like, I remember seeing him bend down and stare back at us and just yell rollover 3 times. Training helps, right? But then from there, I have like the next minute, I don't have. I have feelings, I have sensations, and then it's okay. We're all checking on each other. We're trying to call out. We recognize, we can't get to the driver. There's something stuck in what we call the hellhole, which is the little
Hmm.
battery gap of a hole from the driver to the squad leader. And what we thought were, and we knew this later, but what we thought were like a set of uh, water bottles and other things that we had strapped down in there that had come loose. That's where our squad leader was.
Wow.
Like his last action was warning us, and then as the vehicle hit, I can only guess to this day. Like he got slammed up, snapped his neck right there, passes out, and goes into the hellhole. That's where he stays. Um, but it's pitch dark. Like immediately, all electronics are out,
Wow.
everything's off. It's night. Water is just rising in seconds. And it finally settled at a point where if we kept our heads above water, it was solely because we had to take our helmets off,
Hmm.
right? And so here you are, you have a group of guys anywhere from 20 to maybe 29, 30, trying to figure out a situation we'd never trained for. We trained rollover drills, you know this, right? But nobody teaches you the
The get out
rollover
drill.
drill when there's water coming in
Yeah.
in wrong angles. And part of this actually led to where we go through, and I can't remember what we call it, but now you would go into a simulation where they put you in a Humvee and
Hmm.
they just kind of roll you into
Hmm.
a pool, and it's right now cut yourself loose, get out.
Yeah.
But that didn't happen before 2004.
Yeah, that didn't
Like that
exist
wasn't
until
a problem.
2000, gosh, 2014, 13,
2007.
14. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah. Well, I
I
think
was
the
in recruiting for
first
4 years. I missed a lot of technical stuff.
yeah, but I think the first time I saw it was like 2007, 2006, something like that. And it wasn't like we saw a lot of these. It was like there was one of these systems,
Hmm.
and you rotated a platoon through a day, and it took them a month and a half to get through a company or get through a battalion.
Hmm.
It wasn't streamlined, but
That's where seatbelt
it
cutters
was
came
just one
from,
of those
though.
things. Oh, 100%.
Everyone started getting
Um,
seatbelt cutters because of that. So,
because of it. Hell,
yeah.
hell yeah. But it was just one of those things. Like we're sitting there, and this is the first time I think I realized like we always briefed and we always talked about PCCs, PCIs, why they're important. The small things matter, the little details.
Hmm.
We are our troop hatch, which is a troop door that sits on the ramp that can come down, has the ability to lock it at night. That way you can secure what's inside so you can have commo stuff or
Hmm.
non-sensitive information stays with the vehicle, but the vehicle itself is secure. And that lock had never been taken off. So now here we are,
Locked
we're a
in.
group of 9 dudes locked in, and you can't see anything,
Yeah.
but you can hear everything.
Yeah.
If you've ever been in a pool and it's quiet and you just move your hand under the water,
Yeah.
you'll hear the residual movement.
Yeah.
Well, now it's dark. Now everybody's trying to get quiet. You've got two different people trying to take charge to try and provide some form of structure to what we're about to try and figure out. And all you hear is this slosh of movement, this and that. Have you checked this? Have you checked that? Reach for this, reach for that. As you call your name, I want you to touch with your left hand somebody to the left, and they'll call off so we can control how we're counting off names so we know who we have, who we don't. Um, Come to find out, we were in there maybe 20 minutes.
Wow.
I will tell you, I didn't think we got out of there till 4 in the morning.
Yeah.
I
Feels
can
like
remember
eternity.
hearing people. Oh, 100%. I mean, you're helpless. And it's like you said, it's the worst feeling in the world. Can't do anything. No matter how hard I try, no matter what I have at my disposal, nothing I'm going to do is going to effectively change this outcome. I have to rely on somebody else.
Right.
They're not in this room with me. So it was rough. To start off a deployment like that and then try and go from there.
Yeah, that's
It,
rough.
it's it is, and I'll never forget those guys. Both those of us that lived and those that didn't. Because we lost two from my vehicle, we lost one from the front vehicle at the same time. We almost lost a second one. They actually pulled him out. He wasn't breathing, heart wasn't going. CPR actually brought him back.
Wow.
He's alive and well, out in California now with his kids and loves life. And I'll never forget the story he told. Like he's like, I felt like all I remember is being on a bus and this one stop bus driver, like the door opened, it was very bright, and bus driver goes, "This is your stop. You need to get off. You're done here."
Wow.
Like that's how he
That's
described it. And I was just
wow.
like, your trip potentially to the afterlife involved a city bus. Um, but that's the callous nature of who we are, right?
Yeah.
Like
You also
we
grew up in
joke
California, so
about
you got
yeah.
buses. Just kidding.
I mean, I grew up in Europe a bit, so it shouldn't be too unfamiliar. But at the same time, it's one of those things like we talked about it internally, we moved on, and it took us some time. Like it wasn't just the next day we were out doing missions. I think we were down for like a week.
Oh yeah.
And our sergeant major like pulled aside, like, look, I get it, this is rough, but we have a job still.
Yeah.
You're needed in this fight, and it sounds callous, but it's not wrong.
Yeah. That's the hardest part, I think, that people in general don't ever grasp. Have you ever seen the Flags of Our Fathers, the Iwo Jima Vow?
Yes,
Like
yeah, yeah,
it's the only movie I've ever seen that kind of touches on that point. That the Native American guy character, I can't remember who played that part, but he has one speech in there where someone's like talking about the picture and the promotion for war bonds and stuff, and he has a line. I'm gonna mess this up, but he was like, "Y'all don't understand. That was the first day. We were there for 6 weeks, you know,
right.
and I didn't get pulled out to come do this bond stuff for months, you know,
Until yeah,
and so it was like all those guys that are in that picture. Like there's the of us, like most of us are dead the next day. I think there's three of them. I can't remember. Some Marines are gonna correct me on this and be mad. That's okay. But it was that's the part that's hard. And you hit on that where it's like, wow, we just lost two vehicles. That's going to take a lot of work to get them back to mission capable. We lost three dudes' lives. We have one dude's got broken legs. You have one dude's in recovery from being, resuscitated. And so like your personnel just lost five dudes. And so like you have to pull people around, just people have to step up, you have to pull somebody from a different battalion, whatever, all these crazy
yeah,
manning things, and you're like, and then the uniqueness, this I don't know, for me, the challenge is you get replacements, you know, and it's a super hard emotional thing, no matter if you're a private or if you're a staff sergeant, like regardless what position gets in your case, it's the squad leader. You get a new squad leader, and there's this default animosity of like you
yeah.
weren't in the vehicle, you know, and
You weren't a part of this. You can never be a part of
right,
this, and it's not your fault.
right.
Like
It's super
you
tough.
didn't do anything to earn it, but just by the nature of the beast of the military. And I want to correct one thing. We lost three total people. The our driver who broke his legs, Wesley was his name. He died in the process. He ended up drowning.
Oh
Like I
man.
think out of everybody, I think he had him and Blickenstaff actually
Yeah,
died
that's
of
that same guy.
drowning.
Okay. Yeah, wow.
Right. But like, our driver was deathly afraid of swimming, of water, of
Yeah.
drowning. And, you know, we're we can't speak to what actually happened. We can only surmise. We
Yeah.
weren't there. Like even though we were literally 2.5 feet from
Yeah.
him,
He's alone.
we weren't there.
Yeah.
Um, the
That sucks,
driver in
man.
the front vehicle, like but it's also the way because one vehicle dropped where the back end of the vehicle settled into the mud and the nose was forward up. The other one dropped the other way with the nose forward down.
Yeah.
And the driver of the other vehicle, he was actually my roommate for a little bit as a private, because barracks we don't
Right.
live alone. We we don't rate that high. Um,
Barracks are awesome.
but oh, dude, but I mean, he was heavy set. Like
Yeah.
he was solid as a rock. Don't get it twisted, but he was heavy set. Him finding a way out through his driver's hatch, in between the vehicle and what we called slat armor, which is basically like this big old
Hmm.
hit, like this pigeon cage, bird
Yeah.
cage. You don't fit through that easily.
No,
And I weighed maybe 130 pounds at 5'8.5", 5'9" at the time, right?
you're still out there right
I
now.
would struggle. No, I'm 5'7" now. Like my back gave out on me a while ago.
I
I
love it.
shrank, but and I also put on some weight too.
For those
Um,
listening, I'm 6'3". I've always given Tim a hard time. So
hey, I will tell you, being short in a firefight has its advantages.
it does. Iraqi door frames hurt.
Um, they do, but you know what? I remember being pinned down at a different time, like, and I was using a curb as cover, and it worked for me.
The curve.
So it's one of those things, like, being small has its advantages
It
in the
does.
right context. But this guy, like, through that year and ever since, he shed weight like it was a bad habit. He
Hmm.
is healthy. He is thin. He's like, he didn't get anorexically thin, but
Yeah.
he definitely took that moment and it changed his life forever.
Yeah.
Um, it
That's
changed
crazy.
my life forever. I mean, I don't know anybody that was involved in that. It didn't change their
Yeah. Well, you appreciate things differently.
life. You do. You also get irritated about the dumb things a lot more easily.
Well, it's because you appreciate things differently. You're like, why are y'all
Yeah.
so mad that your Gatorade isn't that cold? Or, it's like you don't understand. You know, it's
You have to
I
have Gatorade. Shut up and go.
well, it's true. I talk to a lot of guests on this show, and people who've been in experiences like that. Like what I've been through and what they've been through, and like I would ask you this as an honest question: is when was the last time you told that story? And it's in that length of explanation. Years,
Yeah, actually,
you know?
about 3 years ago, and it was with Joe Troutman.
Yeah,
We were talking about it and some other things for his book.
yeah. And
Um,
so, and you work,
and
I
prior to
want
that,
been a while.
2012,
Yeah. So you're looking at
and it
13
was when
years.
I
You
was,
told you told it once
yeah,
in 13 years until today. And
yeah,
you're working in a civilian capacity now, obviously, since you retired. And we'll go into, I don't want to talk about your job. It's no fun for anybody. But no, it's good. But it's those that you work with, no matter what your job is, will never understand. Like not even remotely grasp um any part of that. And for me, that's why this show exists. Is that right there is because you can tell that story to me, and regardless of if I've experienced something similar to it or not, but I get it because I wore the uniform. And and
yeah.
I've been in a Stryker, even though I freaking hated it, for I'm a paratrooper at heart. So like we did a left seat, right seat with a Stryker unit. It was like a one day where like this is not we have different tactics and this is not gonna work.
We do.
And
We
so
do.
we're riding that in the back of that. Like I've never been more claustrophobic, and like get me the hell out of. I would rather walk and step on an IED than be in this thing. It was like we were miserable,
Oh,
you know. But like you don't get to tell those stories. And one, there's a time and a place, but also
yeah.
even outside of near death, there's a whole smorgasbord of other stories. And people don't tell
Oh,
those stories.
100%.
You're not at the water fountain or in the conference room, and everyone's talking about this or that in a car wreck. You're like, been in a pretty crazy car wreck, and but
Yeah.
you don't want to share it,
I don't want
one,
to, yeah.
because one, you gotta give like an hour long backstory. Okay, the Stryker has 8 wheels and it goes real fast. He's got a ramp, and like you get your phone out and like show them a picture. No, that's the wrong version. And like you're trying to. That's the artillery one. No, we all hate them. Whatever, right? So it's just, but you have to give all this context, and so you're like, I just don't want. I won't even get into it. And so you just dismiss the conversation by default, and then over time, this is where I struggle, and not personally, but like with people that I know that have taken their own life. I'm not saying you're suicidal by any means,
Yeah, yeah.
but I think suicide lives right in that little window of understanding when to share, what to share, how to share it, and then on the flip side, the closer we get to death, aside from actual death, the funnier stuff is. It's freaking hilarious. Especially infantry guys, if you're like, oh, that was close, that RPG right there, right? And like terrifying in the moment, gotta get some new pants, but then like a week later, you're all sitting around
We're
just
joking about
cracking
it.
up, right? Because it's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
there's no other way to do it. And then without knowing the civilian population, one, thank you for your service, which is great and all, but the flip side is that they
Still the
don't.
most awkward thing.
It
Like,
is,
you're
but
thanking me for choosing to do a job.
right, but they cast, unbeknownst to them, there's a form of judgment and shame that gets sent. Like they're judging, like, Tim, I don't think you should tell that story. That's kind of terrible. And then,
Yeah.
and then there's this little bit of shame of like, and you really shouldn't be laughing. Like you almost died. You should probably go talk to somebody. Like I am. I'm sharing. I'm
Like,
actively talking, and so I think there's struggle lives right there, and and so you probably can pinpoint. I bet the one time you started sharing a short story to civilians, and you felt a version of that, and then by default it kind of trickles down. You're like, I'm just not going to do it anymore. And it's probably, and for most people, from what I've heard, and correct me if I'm wrong for you, it's their own family. They were home on leave, telling a story. They felt that like they are not receiving this very good. I'm just gonna tone it down a little bit. And oh yeah, work's going good. Yeah, we went to a range. It was
yeah.
a lot of fun. You know,
So, I mean, and again, like for me, I think it's a little bit different because both parents were in the military, both grandparents in the military. So
fair.
having that military family, but recognizing the fact that, where my mother would talk about and kind of, I'm not going to say embellish or lie about her service. She was very much into it,
Yeah,
and everybody should celebrate it.
right.
My father, on the other hand, was the exact opposite. It's like, look, that's my job. It's what I do. It's not who I am. And that was the end of it.
Yeah.
After my first deployment, I remember because, when you come back from an event like that, once the families have been notified, the very next thing that happens is anybody that was directly related to it, now you get the phone, you get to call your family, you get to tell them you're still here.
Hmm.
And remember, you get 35 seconds to a minute.
Yeah.
That's it. And so that call is,
Real quick.
all right, who am I going to call? Who will relay the message correctly to everybody?
Hmm.
And who's not going to press for 50 questions? And so for me, it's simple. Hey, my
Dad.
mother and dad were divorced, but dad, I'm calling dad.
Yeah.
Hey, dad, this is me. It's this time here. I'm okay.
Yeah.
That's all you get. And my dad, having been in the military for over 20 years, having done
Understood.
some of these things, was like, who all do I need to tell? And I told him, I was like, immediate family. That's it.
Yeah.
Everybody else, they get to learn the hard way. It sucks to be them. I don't have time. I gotta go.
Yeah.
And then, remember back in 2003, 2004, we were just on the cusp of, really having mass integration into the internet.
Yeah.
So
Didn't have iPhones yet.
we're
Still had Motorola Razors.
no, like I think Nokia and BlackBerry owned the market for cell phones
Oh,
at the time,
BlackBerry
right?
was killing it back then. Yeah.
But at the same time, I say
I
that
still have my
because
Nokia brick.
remember, I have one too. Um, but I say that because it's important to understand that majority of our correspondence was still through letter mail.
Yeah.
And so, you're waiting 3 weeks for things to transit one way or the other.
Yeah.
So that means it's a month and a half turnaround for a letter and response.
Yeah.
And then heaven forbid it's over a holiday period. Remember, I'm talking December 8th
Yeah.
when this happened. So we're already in the swing of holiday stuff being sent,
Hmm.
millions of letters to Santa going,
Lots of
wherever
cookies.
they go. Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
And never mind, we're in a country where most Americans couldn't even point it out on a map.
Yeah. That's crazy, man.
Living in a culture and an environment and an entire mental state that is so anathema to who we are as Americans.
Yeah.
And I don't say that as a bad thing.
Yeah.
The most generous people I've ever met come from that region, bar none. And
Yeah.
there's not a single American that convinced me otherwise. I've watched these families give up an entire month's worth of food to 9 guys
Yeah.
and take them in. And then, we get into a firefight, and now all of a sudden, the father and the eldest son go pull weapons that we were just looking for and couldn't find
Yeah.
and come fight
Oh,
with
we had
us.
them the whole time. We tricked you.
But but
It's
like
so true.
because we were in their home,
Yeah.
they're fighting with us.
Yeah.
And they're mad at us because we need to get away from the windows because we're their responsibility as guests.
Yeah.
You show me anywhere in America where you're going to find that same
Yeah.
process. Now, I'm not saying that they don't exist at all, but this was a
Harder to
cultural
find.
norm for these
Yeah.
people. You know, you go into certain parts of the deep South, or you get into certain small towns in Texas
Yeah.
and rural Alabama and Georgia, you'll find it. You get out to the Everglades of Florida, you'll find it. But outside of that, you'll be hard pressed unless
Yeah.
you're well known.
Yeah.
You
I'll,
know,
I have to tell you a
and
crazy story. Crazy. No, seriously, this is not.
go
Uh,
for
so,
it.
so I was in Iraq, obviously, 06, 07, on the surge and all this stuff, and we're in North Baghdad, like we just all over the place. Well, in North Baghdad, ever been there, there's a specific ice cream shop next to the gates of Baghdad. It's like 4 blocks away,
Mhm.
and we visit it quite frequently because it's ice cream. It's Tuesday, like we'll
It's
have risk.
110 degrees out. Ice
Well,
cream's a
is
thing.
that we'll have Risk Our Life for some vanilla, and it's weird, but and anyways, there was I was there a lot, obviously, for that year. Fast forward to 2021, right? And I'm
Mhm.
walking around the mall in um the Vista Ridge Mall, right? In West DC area. And Vista, okay, anyways, Vienna. And I'm walking around there and I go to this coffee shop that's right next to Barnes and Noble's. This little, it's an Arabic coffee place. And anyways, I get a cup of coffee because I was by myself, and this girl was in line next to me waiting for her drink, and she's like, "Oh, you in the army?" I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "Oh, cool." I was like, "Where are you from?" She's like, "I'm from Iraq." I was like, "No way." And she's like, "What part?" And she's like, "Well, do you know Iraq?" I'm like, "I've been all over it. And
Familiar.
so I'm from Baghdad. And I'm like, well, what region? And I named like 6 like little sub towns, and she's like,
Mhm.
nobody knows the regions, And I was like, this one right here, and I named her where she's from. I was, oh, that's where the ice cream shop is at. And she's like, you know the ice cream place? And so we had this little like 10-minute chat, and I
Yeah.
mean, she had just came to America in 2019,
Yep.
and so we did talk about her age. She was a 7-year-old girl at that time. And
Yeah.
she's like, I'm like, man, I've never met anybody who, on the American side of things that was a kid, because I've always wondered about the kids, that are just running
Oh yeah.
around, no adult supervision ever. Afghanistan's 10 times worse. And I would love to hang out and just talk and just kind of hear your perspective of things. And I'm sure at some point
Story.
you had soldiers in your house, and we
Yeah.
probably took all your mats to sleep on them. And, um, and all that. But well, I'd love to let's keep talking about other stuff, but we could be on this, good gosh, for days. But I want to make sure we have the time to
I
go to other
think
topics.
what's interesting, and one thing I would love to unpack another time is
Yeah,
you talked about being airborne and doing left seat right side with strikers. I'm curious to know when that is because we were there through the surge 06, 07. I basically say 06, 08. And I remember the 82nd and the 101st both coming in, and the 82nd moving into different parts of Baghdad.
yeah, that's me.
And we ended up being your ferries to and from places.
Yeah,
all the time and getting you out. And I remember commanders from the 82nd be like, "Yeah, no, we're gonna walk the whole way there." We're like, "You're idiots."
Yeah.
Like, I get it. This is your thing. This is your shtick, but
Well,
you're
they
gonna
gave us
walk down
trucks.
Irish.
Yeah.
You're high.
Yeah. Well, it
Like,
was
we'll
so
get you
yeah.
there in 20
So it was,
minutes.
we were second brigade, second ID was who we fell under. That you back then, and
So 2-3. We were third brigade, second ID.
okay,
And then first battalion, 23rd infantry.
yeah. So
So,
yeah, so that
we
was
were the Tomahawks.
we were so our battalion was deployed in '06. We got home for 3 weeks. We got sent back for the surge, and so as a brigade, yeah, it was good times. And the day after Christmas, we got a phone call, and
Oh yeah.
but we were they deployed second brigade into what's the right across the river of North Baghdad. Um, anyways, that's where the second brigade headquarters was at. Anyways, our battalion
Yeah.
got pulled because we were on a different. We could only be deployed for 10 months, and the rest of them could be a year
Hmm.
and a half. And because they technically never got reset, and so they attached us to y'all. And so I was going to buy up all the time to talk to the second ID. I was the um security for my commander, lead, all that kind of stuff. It was good times. Did a lot of time sitting in a
Yeah.
freaking Humvee, so it was
Well,
free.
I mean, I remember doing like the third push into Solder City.
Yeah, so it's there.
So
That's what it started. So Second
yeah,
Brigade was doing
yeah.
Star City.
So
So
we pushed the 82nd. We helped bring the 82nd in. We did multiple feints on Solder City for the part of 3 weeks before we finally went in.
yeah,
And I remember, like, I'll never forget having Kurds with us.
yeah,
Um, I'd swear by those guys. Like, I
they're
would pick up a
crazy.
rifle with them any day of the week. Oh, but they were reliable.
Yeah,
Like, you could count on them.
yeah.
In fact, if you remember, I want to say January 2007, um, Haifa Street in Baghdad. This made CNN, where we were
Hmm.
basically like in the high rises. That was us.
Yeah.
So we were the Stryker unit. We turned that into like a 9 to 5 firefight job for 3 or 4 days.
Well,
We were coming back from a mission. We rolled right into this problem. We fought it for like 3 hours. We ended up leaving. We had Iraqi army in place overnight. We would link up, whatever it was. They would link up with the next morning, divine which Iraqi battalion would come with us, pick them up, we drive them out, put the new ones in place,
yeah,
send the old ones out, and then like by 8:05, first shots came and
yeah.
we would just fight for like
It's that
five
time
hours.
again. Good
Oh,
morning.
but
Yeah, it's so
it
true.
was so surreal.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, we've clocked in, and it reminded me of the Looney Tunes cartoon, the sheepdog and the
Hmm.
coyote. They were like, "Hey Bob, hey Fred, click, all right," and then they would go clock in, go to their sides, and then it was just like, "All right, time to go," and off
Yeah.
you went. And then it was like
Yeah.
every day by like 6 o'clock, and you could tell because it would be like sundown. And as the sun started to creep, the bullets got less, the problems got less, and then all of a
Yeah.
sudden it got quiet, and we'd sit for an hour and be
Uh,
like, "All right," we'd
at
look
the
at
end of
Iraqi
at the end of the day,
battalion, be
they're
like,
humans. We're humans. We all want to go to bed. We'll see
100%.
you
But it was
tomorrow.
just one scene. You'd
Yeah.
see this Iraqi battalion, be like, "All right, guys, you guys good? We'll see you in the
Well,
morning."
they also know that we
So
can see at night. That's the thing. And they
100%.
and they can't. They're like,
Um,
they can see us. We cannot see them. Between night vision
I
and
mean,
thermals, and back then we had was it the
so
Raven? I call it the dodo bird.
yeah, yeah.
You
The
know,
Shadow and the Raven. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
We called the Raven the
The
dodo
little
bird because it was
handheld.
completely worthless. You know,
Um, we got it to work. I would say 60% of the time. I think
yeah,
we ended up relying on the Shadow. We liked it better.
yeah. The Raven they
A
gave it.
little bit bigger.
They learned to give. You can't give paratroopers things that fly. 'Cause all we do is bring them to the ground. And
I don't think you can give infantrymen anything
this is
because,
true.
like, we've always said, if you ever need a test subject, give it to an infantryman because
Oh
first
yeah.
we're gonna see if we can break
Well, that's
it.
why the XM8 doesn't
Um,
got canned. Is they give it to
100%. You,
Joe and Joe dropped it and they're like, that's what's going to happen right there. It's going to get dropped.
yep,
It's
100%.
go
That's
it's
what's gonna happen.
and it broke and they're like, oh, this isn't going to work because it breaks. I'm like, yeah, it's called plastic. Have you met Joe?
Yes,
Joe's crazy.
it's a
So,
thing.
but
But we always said, like, if you want to see how durable it is, give it to an infantryman because
yeah,
once they've broken it, they're gonna
just
see if they can fix
just give it to the E4 Mafia
it.
and give for a week, and I promise you they can solve half the world's problems. You know,
Yeah,
just have an E4
but no,
reunion,
like,
see what happens. It's good times.
oh God,
Well, let's shift gears a little bit. We only got about 20
yeah,
minutes left here before you got to run. you and I both have been a part of probably what I consider a privileged organization, being the Old Guard, the 3rd Infantry Regiment up in Fort Myron next to Arlington Cemetery, for those that don't know. And it is a unit, and it's a mission, and it's a job. It's like nothing else. And we don't have time to go into all the intricacies of the Old Guard and uniforms and ribbons and I've cut more license plates than I ever want to admit, and it's just it's a weird thing to describe in those rights. There's a lot of really good books. I encourage you to read them, but you and I both at the same time overlapped and did a lot of work with horses. And so I'd like to hear kind of your experiences. I'm sure you have some epic photos of time on horse. It's epic. The cemetery is just a a grind of a mission, but
Surreal.
it's surreal. I mean, I've been there so many times still since, and I walk around. I'm like, it's just I took my wife there, and she's like, I've never heard some quiet. I've never seen so many people
Mhm.
so quiet, and but being a part of the caisson platoon, did you make the NCOIC of that at the end?
So not at the old guard up in Arlington. I
Yeah,
ended
Sam
up
Houston. Oh,
being
okay,
the
yeah,
caisson platoon sergeant down at Fort Sam, and we can get into
yeah,
that.
yeah. Let's kind of walk through because how many rides have you got? I mean, sure it's way up there, and we'll talk about the badge a little bit. Just to
Mhm.
tell on that because I helped write that, and
Pain, the pain of what
yeah.
that is. So, I actually came to the old guard due to EFMP status.
Hmm.
Ve- Similar to your situation, my eldest son has a genetic condition that affects his blood.
Hmm.
And after 12 years of train, deploy, train, deploy, train, deploy, train, deploy, the Army looked at me and went, look, you've got more combat experience than most people we know, even in your field. You need to go download that somewhere. You need to be sharing these stories, sharing this information, sharing these examples with people that are going to take it from you. So I ended up going back to Fort Lewis to an NCOS instructor position for 3 years, and then the Army decided it was a great idea to make me a drill sergeant. And so I spent a year and 3 months on the trail, not because I did anything wrong, but because my son's medical care vanished.
Hmm.
And it was the first time in my life where I had somebody in a military uniform tell me, and they weren't being mean. And I want to be very, very clear on this. They were being very honest, very open.
Direct.
I'm going to make this decision, and the Army's going to make me choose between my family and my career. They are not telling me to choose my career, but I need to know what the true effect of what this decision is going to be. If I choose to try and not stick it out on the trail for another year and a half, this will negatively impact my career growth. And I remember, at the time, my wife, who was there to hear this conversation, was pissed. Just, this is bullshit. It shouldn't be this way.
Hmm.
And I just looked at him and I said, it's not a choice. You're telling me go get rank or have my child.
Hmm.
Anybody who chooses the rank shouldn't have had the child to begin with.
Right.
Now, for everybody, it's their own choice, it's their own process, and I get it. But for me, it wasn't a choice. So we went through the process, EFMP, and when I heard, okay, well, I'm getting moved up to the old guard. Bear in mind, infantry for 12 years. As far as the old guard are concerned, the only place that was more dog and pony show than the 82nd to me was the old guard.
Hmm.
Um, and unbeknownst to me, I didn't know at the time after, 14, 15 years in, I had no clue we had horses outside of Fort Riley and Fort Hood.
Hmm.
So I get up the old guard. I'm in processing. I'm a staff sergeant, fresh off the trail. I drive up on Meyer Henderson Hall, and the very first thing I do is I see Continental Color Guard in dress shoes in OCP. So I see ACUs, and then I see this dress uniform in tennis shoes, and I'm just like the drill sergeant badge on me is
Boys,
just trying to jump off
burn it all
like
down.
the the shock of it all. I was just like, you know what? I'm not gonna say a damn thing. They've like somebody's got to know something somewhere. This has
Yeah.
got to be a thing. So I'm gonna shut up. I'm gonna take a beat for a minute. I'm gonna breathe. I'm gonna let somebody explain what the hell's going
Yeah.
on. Go through in processing. Day one, I get pulled up into regimental headquarters, and um, this was Colonel Taylor at the time.
Hmm.
And as I go up, the sergeant major's like, hey, I'm checking in. Sergeant Major's like, you're my staff sergeant from the trail, right? And I said, I believe I'm one. I'm Sergeant Major. Yes, I don't know if I'm the only one. He goes, well, you're the only one, so let's go. And he starts walking me across the street. Now, if you've been on Fort Myer, you know right outside regimental headquarters, you walk right across, there's the barn.
Hmm.
If you're unfamiliar with it, you're walking across and you see what looks like a long storage shed. And
Several of them.
so every building, oh, 100%, but every building on Fort Myers is old.
Hmm.
I like they're to the point that they all, I'm fairly certain, qualify for historical heritage recognition. Um, but I'm walking across the street and here's this sergeant major and he's like, "Hey, you have a problem with horses?" And I'm like, "No, sergeant major." And he's like, "Okay, good." And I said, "Why?" And he goes, "Because you're about to be on."
A
And I
lot.
was like, I don't understand. And then we open the door to the barn, and all I see are stalls, half full, half empty. There's guys walking around in jeans, boots, black button
Button
ups, and
ups.
I'm just like, what the hell is this? And he walks me right upstairs and he walks me to the platoon sergeant and he introduces me. And this was Jeffrey Tyree. Great guy.
Love Tyree.
The guy has much, oh, Tyree's awesome. But he was a no nonsense. I'm going to tell it straight. You can love it or hate it. Get the fuck out.
Yeah.
And from somebody like me with my experience, appreciated it because it's very easy to know where you stand with these people. And it's very
Hmm.
easy to figure out when you're doing something right and doing something wrong. But he was like, how much horse experience you have, and I explained a little bit to him, and he's like, you're short, and I went, I'm aware.
He's
And
tall
Sergeant Major
too.
looks at everybody. Oh, he is like, the Tyree, I think is close to 6'5".
Yes, and he's taller than me. So
Yeah, but like Sergeant Major looks at Tyree and goes, everybody's 6 foot on a horse. Who cares?
so
So,
true.
and it's just one of those things, right? So we're going through this process and we're dealing with this, and he's like, well, you're gonna have to go through BHC, basic horsemanship course. I'm like, yeah, no problem. I've been to enough military schools, and he looks at me and he goes, it's not like a military school you've ever been to before.
No.
Um, it wasn't. Mr. Brown and an NCO and a senior specialist were down there teaching it, and it was definitively a different experience. The horsemanship that we got to learn in a period of 6 weeks, night and day, the care you learn for horses, whether you've been around them your whole life or not, you go through that course, you're going to learn something
Hmm.
new. And the way Mr. Brown approached dealing with horses, working with horses, training with horses,
Hmm.
it explained why we were so good at what we did in the cemetery.
Hmm.
Um, you look at it today, and I'm sure past case on members feel some kind of way about why the horses have blinders now versus when we didn't, so on and so forth. You can argue that to training, you can argue that to safety. There's schools of thought,
Hmm.
right? I'm not going to say one's better, one's worse. What I am going to
The
say
blinders
is,
look cool. I have to say it is kind of a cool aesthetic. It's my opinion.
so aesthetic, sure. Um, Coming from a time where we rode the horses and we knew. I mean, I had horses like Franklin. I came in as a squad leader for the fourth squad, which was a white squad of horses. Anybody who knows horses knows that horses aren't actually white; they're gray underneath. But we had two squads of grays, we had two squads of blacks. Most of our horses were mixed, and that was on purpose. Mr. Brown was trying to actually shrink the height of the herd down and get us away from these big shires, these big Morgans, and bring us down to like this Morgan quarter cross. Smaller horse, yes, they're more hot tempered, but they're also more trainable. They're
Hmm.
more susceptible to working with people that they can gain trust of. And for me, I think Franklin was a great example of it. Um, Franklin was this amazing gray, just spitfire of a horse.
Hmm.
And everybody was like, he's going to be your problem child. You got to keep him worked. You got to keep him engaged. You got to keep him going. And through the time that I was there, we actually worked him through the wagon up to lead and lead off. And he was easy. He's just a workhorse. That little boy would pull like no tomorrow. But if he didn't go out in the cemetery for more than 3 days,
Get
unless
pissed.
he was in a turnout lot, he was like he
Hmm.
was just like we were. You have people that are
Get them wound up.
complacent. You have people that are workaholics. You have people that are excitable, and people who just can't be excited for nothing.
Yeah.
Um, but from my time in Quezon, from the time I got there, working through the wagon, getting to I want to say 128 total rides. So I don't have an excessive amount of rides. But a lot of that comes from I was a squad leader for about a year, and then I stepped into an opposite CO position for me.
Hmm.
And so I was managing, and you know this because this is where you and I really started to kind of work together
Hmm.
on, working on contracting for feed, contracting for leather, contracting for,
Horseshoes.
how do we go out and horseshoes? Oh God. Like
Hey.
all these different side things.
Yeah.
And the things we would hear, yeah, Caisson eats up 80% of the Old Guard budget. Well, if you understand horses for 5 minutes, it's a no-brainer as to why. I mean, I remember working with, we had the first chief come in to Caisson around 2018,
That was
and Chief Sabatica.
Sabatica. Yeah, I think I can pronounce his name.
Yeah. And Chief Sabatica and I actually did a lot of the planning in preparation for President Carter's funeral.
Hmm.
The original intent for that funeral was
The original
Caisson was
plan.
actually going to fly. Yeah, we were going to fly down to Plains, Georgia.
Hmm.
We had a spot reserved. We had all this planned out and set up.
Hmm.
Where Caisson was, Caisson and the Sea Chanters were going to be the main event, if you will, of his funeral procession.
Hmm.
Working with, the J2 out of MDW, all these planners, this, that, and everything
All
else.
those same
It
meetings. I
was
remember.
insane. It was insane what we would talk about. And I to this day,
I airload certified the trailer.
proof, proof the Army is willing to do the craziest thing possible just to justify it. We're going to load the horses onto a trailer. We're going to load the trailer onto a C-130 or a C-17, and we're
C-17.
going to fly you guys down. And it was just like, what vet is blessing off on this? Like, show them to me. Introduce me. Why? Because I'm going to hit them. Because they're dumb.
So
Because
great.
understand, the pilots on that plane, they give two shits about the horses. They give
Yeah.
everything about that, like, $60 million plane. And they have it in their protocol, in their policy, in their regs. If they have to dump cargo to save the plane, they'll do it.
Yeah.
So you're going to tell me, you're going to put us in position to make the Air Force make a choice as to whether or not they dump 12 horses. And at the time, remember, this included Sergeant York,
Oh yeah.
who is famous in and of his own right simply for Reagan's funeral, right?
Yep.
Like you're gonna put us in a position where we're going to allow somebody to make a decision based on the health and safety of the machine, simply because we're not willing to rent out planes that are already in existence that have stalls for horses that are built for this.
Yeah. No kidding.
And I feel like it actually would cost the government a lot less money to do so.
I have a great picture from that day. I don't know if I've ever shown you these
Oh
pictures.
my God.
When was that? That was
You
in May.
remember you remember doing the mock-up load up of trying to get one trailer loaded up full of stuff, and then we
Oh,
would actually
I
drove
had to
out to
order.
Andrews
I had to order the ramp. It was a $32,000 ramp.
that we've never used, by the
Yeah. Oh, I
way.
know. Believe me, I know that. Where are those pictures at?
So
Good
it's just
times.
it's one of those things like it's but all of that led me down to, Colonel Garkey and Colonel Schaus approached me like, hey, we need somebody to go down to Fort Sam and assess this unit. They say their case on, they're using our moniker. We need to know what's what.
Right.
And that turned into, a two-star from MDW. Hey, whatever you do, give me enough information that we can shut this down. Getting down onto Fort Sam to Army North and General Buchanan going, whatever you do, give me a way forward.
Y'all are
As
giving me different
as
guidance rules.
a as a sergeant first class with no actual officer support,
Yeah.
here I am trying to balance a two-star and a three-star. Who do you piss off?
Yeah, that's fun.
Because remember, I'm old guard. So at the end of the day, yes, this 3-star can hate me, but
Yeah,
I actually my reporting chain goes through this 2-star.
yeah.
However, this is a 3-star. This is a
Mhm.
2-star.
Well, that 3-star was a former old guard person, I thought, wasn't he? Or
So
MDW commander or something like that. He had some kind of tie at some point.
he was MDW commander previously.
That's what it was. Huh?
And not just that, General Buchanan had a love of the horses.
Well, so
Like
he loved horses.
understand
Yeah,
when you go to Fort Sam, the Army North General's house is right there next to the
right,
stables on Fort Sam.
right.
Every night, General Buchanan would come out with his wife and they would come over to the stables, or they would invite people at the stables up to the back porch and they would just
Yeah,
sit and talk about the horses and that.
right,
Him and his wife would ride the horses down there at Fort Sam all the time.
right.
So this was something that he loved. And for him, it was important for Military City, USA, San Antonio, to have this capability.
Hmm.
And, being a sergeant first class trying to navigate general politics,
Yeah, good luck with
this was a new piece for me.
that. Yeah.
And so, everything I did, everything I evaluated, everything I saw, I had to know, like, it was no longer just, this is what it is. It was, this is what it is. This is the detriment. This is the way ahead.
Hmm.
And so that way, learning to write to give everybody what they wanted based on their own interpretation and then let them fight it out,
Yeah,
that was a skill set for 6 months of training and process.
yeah. So
But
riding
because of
horse
it,
101 right there.
oh, 100%. Like if you're comfortable, you're probably doing it wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
um, but it's what landed me the job.
Yeah.
And basically General Buchanan was like, we want French down here. Um, and we're basically going to give him carte blanche. Unbeknownst to me, General Buchanan made that decision as one of his kind of last decisions as the Army North
Hmm.
commander, because General Richardson came in and took over, I think, 90 days after I got on ground.
Hmm.
But here I am. I'm taking a
That's
Frankenstein case on.
female Richardson, right? Yeah.
Female Richardson,
Yeah.
correct. I believe she's Army South now,
Well, they're combined, I think.
or she was.
Yeah,
Are they combined now?
they got rid of I don't know how that so got reflagged. They got rid of Army North and South and made it something else. It's like Army West, Army I can't remember. It's weird.
Like
It's a
Western
four-star
Hemisphere
ability.
Command or something
No,
like
no,
that.
no, it really
Correct.
is. It's like the North America, South America side, then there's the Europe side, and that's it.
That's how they did it.
I stopped following all that stuff, and I was like, I don't wear the uniform anymore. I don't care.
Yeah.
So
No, but I mean, there was this, and so for 90 days, remember, she's doing left seat, right seat with General Buchanan. She's trying to get up on the southern border mission that's running.
right,
Like Army North was this general command of North America
yeah,
and the hemisphere and how we deal with things. And they consistently had things going on.
yeah,
Natural, hurricane season was a huge thing for us. FEMA support was a huge thing for us. And then I took over at a time where I'm trying to rebuild a caisson team that had had multiple accidents,
yeah.
that had had multiple runaways, was working with a Frankenstein caisson wagon,
Hmm.
and had a herd that, from a civilian that was trying to do something, um, the horses were not mentally sustainable.
Yeah,
One of the first actions I did there was I had to make the decision with the soldiers that had been on the ground with these horses for 3 or 4 years to put a horse down because the horse was just hurting so bad.
yeah,
And as we talked about earlier, being that squad leader to come in at the wrong time, here I am. I'm the platoon sergeant. I'm making the recommendation. The best thing to do is put a horse down. And they're like, no, no, the horse is fine. I'm like, that horse can't walk but 5 feet.
yeah.
That horse is not fine.
Which is suicide for horses at their feet. So
100%.
yeah,
And so, I step in, I retire out an entire herd. I get tied in because the way Fort Sam purchased their horses versus the way we bought them up at the old guard was different. Fort Sam's horses came through the military veterinary associations as donations to the government.
hmm.
And so
These are
I would
old.
work with oh, 100%, but I would work through that association, be like, hey, we're about to go out and go look at these horses. This is what we need to do. We need to be prepared to write this kind of a check. And so I took my my new civilian counterpart as a contractor with us, and we would fly out to like South Dakota to Ohio. I think we bought like four Amish horses.
Hmm.
We ended up buying two horses out of South Dakota. We got a couple others that were, gifted to us from other sources. But like we changed the entire process how we procured horses.
Hmm.
We changed the entire process on how we contracted hay because when I got down there, found out we were on the same hay contractors you guys were up in the old guard, but she was treating us like secondhand garbage.
Hmm.
When we got hay for our horses, it looked like straw.
Yeah.
And I was just like, this doesn't have any nutrients. This is just we're effectively giving cattle cut. And so redoing all those contracts, and then out of nowhere, we find a 1906 caisson
Hmm.
up for sale. And so immediately it's like here I am. I'm now briefing a three-star general. Hey, I need to go on this turn and burn mission, and I'm about to go and try and spend $18,000 of the Army's money to go buy a relic. What are you gonna do with it? Oh, I'm gonna cut it apart.
Yeah. But better though.
Make that sell.
Yeah. I feel like you got it
But
way cheaper.
uh we my first priority was getting an actual case on instead of this Frankenstein thing.
Yeah.
Um, we ended up getting it for like 16,000, and then we put another 4,000 of renovation repair work into it. But Fort Sam now has the oldest active case on a military service
Yeah.
at 1906. Haha, I did that, right? Like, and that's one of those things where, that was the first time where I was able to bring some soldiers with, like, hey, we're not going just me. I'm taking some of my young NCOs. They need to see this process as well.
Yeah.
And here we go. And again, this gets into the argument, why did we use these caissons? They're so heavy because in 1906, like there was no folded steel like this.
Yeah.
This was an old process of, hey, this thing is
Iron
heavy.
back
Oh,
then.
100%, you know. But at the same time, remember, we're talking about a wagon with no brakes, no rider on it, and the horses do all the work through their leather harness, through
Hmm.
their tack. There's a reason why the caisson's heavy. It's a natural deterrent to keep the horses from trying to get up and take off.
Hmm.
And one of the things we found, and they've learned it again in the old guard now, is as they've lightened the wagon, it's increased the penchant for the team to move.
Hmm.
And so like there's things you don't even realize you're learning or you're doing simply because you weren't there to see it fail. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And the unique aspect of the Fort Sam piece was I got to learn all that. It was almost like I got brought back in time to learn, to understand, to see why we're doing the things we're doing up in Arlington and why they mattered so
Yeah.
much. And I mean, it took us a year of work to get the caisson put up to speed, to get the new herd put together, and everything I'd heard about at Fort Myer, where caisson's out traveling along Myer doing training on horseback out on the roads, that wasn't happening anymore because it's too much of a mess or it disrupts traffic. We were doing that at Fort Sam all day.
Yeah.
We would go riding up and down the officers' housing. We would, all these different things, and people would just like follow us.
Yeah.
We had people pull into a PX later on. They'd see us walking through, and they'd be like, "I followed you for like an hour. Why?"
It's like a
Like,
school
I
zone.
get it,
It's like a pooping school zone.
yeah, right. But it was just one of those things. Like we became known across Fort Sanford,
Yeah.
and so
Well, that's an interesting base because
now
you have
seeing,
so many AIT kids there. So many.
yeah,
And so they get a
hundred
different,
percent,
like they're there for medical, and
mm-hmm.
it's not just the army. That's like the DOD's medical
Correct.
enlisted school for sure. I know a lot of officers go there for other things, the PA schools down there and stuff. But
Hmm.
like you've got people who are like in the beginning stages of their army career, however long that is, and then they're like, "Is that a horse?" It's like, what is
Yeah.
this was not in my trifold. So, but man, you gotta run.
I do.
Yeah,
We need to close out. I'm
yeah.
sorry.
No
But no,
worries. It's we
like,
could be here all day, man. And I've got many guests that are about to do part two. So we'll hit pause here, and then we'll come back in a few weeks and do or months and do part two of kind of where Kason went after this, because there's a lot of
Yeah,
news articles out there,
there's a
and
lot
that's a
that,
whole episode in itself, um, and and whatnot. So, but thanks, man, for getting the time to come on here. I know you're in Germany right now, so the time difference is a pain, but we'll figure it out. And for those that are listening, if you haven't subscribed, by all means, please do. And again, Tim, thanks a bunch, and we'll see you on the next episode.